UniTV, we understand as students it's hard to stay up to date with the Brexit debate and what this means for studying in the UK as an EU student.
Maintaining an informed perspective on UK contemporary politics is essential to understanding the historical complexities of Brexit. However, in this politically turbulent climate within the UK, it can lead to devastating impacts for students if they're unable to keep up with the news.
In this special news package broadcast from Westminster, we at UniTV are going to give you a 3-part breakdown of what it means when the UK will leave the EU. First of all, we're going to be looking at what it means for UK students studying in the EU for study abroad programmes. 2, for EU students studying in the UK post-Brexit. And 3, we're going to be getting advice from the University of Sussex and government officials on Brexit.
As we're here reporting from Westminster, London, on October 31st, the presumed date that Boris Johnson said that the UK would be leaving the EU, regardless of whether we had a deal or not, UniTV are here on the ground, reporting the actions of the day, how people are feeling outside Westminster, the disruptions that they're causing to Parliament, and all the information that you need to know about Brexit as a student.
When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Brexit! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Brexit! When do we want it? Now!
Oftentimes in the Brexit debate, the topic of British national students and their foreign study perspectives within the EU are underrepresented. Through a recent study, as reported by The Guardian, 42% of students referred to leaving the EU as their primary cause of anxiety. This is combined with the financial worries and the surge in prices within the private and university renting sector. A 2016 investigation into the 2016 Brexit referendum has revealed that for every 1 student who voted leave, 6 voted remain, meaning that almost 1 million out of the UK's 1.4 million full-time undergraduate student demographic voted to remain in the EU. With the UK's previous Prime Minister, Theresa May, triggering Article 50, the declaration that officially began the UK's departure from the EU, on the 29th of March 2017, it has been almost 2 years since its inception. Following numerous failed attempts by the government of meeting departure deadlines, many have questioned why the vote in 2016 wasn't open to 16 and 17-year-olds, the majority of whom are now studying in higher education themselves. With Ebby Ferguson, NUS Wales Deputy President 2016, writing for The Independent that this demographic of young adults, almost equating to 1.5 million people, being denied access to vote is an absolute disgrace. Next time there's an opportunity to shape the future of our country, all young people must be at the heart of it, end quote. Citing that today's university students will be having to deal with the ramifications of Brexit for the longest amount of time. Though this debate has been counteracted by staunch university leave votes, citing that they believe it is better for the UK to exit the European Union now, as it will be more beneficial long term. Due to the perceived beliefs on the benefits of what UK sovereignty might bring, expectations of reduced immigration, and hope for reduced expenditure on EU-related fees. In the event of a no-deal scenario, whereby the UK and the EU fail to come to a mutual understanding on how to part ways from their previous EU ties in the single market and the customs union, students who began studying on an Erasmus Plus scheme within the academic year of 2019 to 2020 will not have their student finance arrangements affected. Student finance arrangements should also remain unchanged if you're a UK-based student studying within the EU, but not involved within the Erasmus Plus scheme under the same outcome. Undergraduate and postgraduate students are also recommended to contact their UK higher education provider if they plan on returning to the UK from their overseas EU-based study or work-based placements. Further rearrangements can then be made with Student Finance England on maintenance loans for completing your studies, which will be judged on where you're living, studying, and on your socio-economic background. Under this no-deal scenario, the UK is expected to leave the Erasmus Plus scheme following late 2020, unless a subsequent amendment deal is announced. Providing there is a deal in place, the UK will participate in Erasmus Plus until the end of 2020, which acts as the amalgamation to the current transitional period, December 31st. Following this date, the UK's arrangements and participation within Erasmus Plus are subject to the long-term plan negotiated between the UK and the EU. The Department for Education also suggests for EU students who are continuously studying in the EU post-Brexit to check their residency and healthcare rights through using their online guides at gov.uk.
It is important to clarify that if and when the UK leaves the EU without a trade deal, any students outside the EU will not be affected. So if you're an international student from Asia, Africa or the US, you do not need to worry, as you will not be directly affected by Brexit. EU students wanting to remain in the UK or continue to study in the UK post-Brexit need to consider two options. First option would be a soft Brexit. This is unlikely to happen with the current Conservative government, but trade unions would still be in place. We would either remain as a single market or a customs union. However, under Boris Johnson, this is unlikely to happen. A hard Brexit, which is one that is more likely to happen, which will result in the UK leaving the EU on World Trade Organisation rules, which may result in much more severe economic impact to the UK economy. This has been judged by the 15% drop in the pound against the euro since following the year of Brexit referendum. Both of these versions of Brexit are juxtaposed through the UK's government's willingness to negotiate terms with the European Union, with many of the EU proposals taking measures to make sure that the UK or any of its 27 membership states cannot exploit its freedom of movement of trade, justice system, budget and responsibility. For example, UK citizens will not have the right to freedom of travel throughout the EU without a visa if EU citizens cannot enjoy the right when travelling to the UK. Much like British national students, there are several scenarios EU-based students should face when studying and hoping to continue to study in the UK post-Brexit. If the UK decides to remain part of the European single market, it is likely there will be little or no significant changes in how the EU students are treated when applying to study in the UK. They will continue to pay the lower tuition fees at the same rate provided from those of the UK, which is currently capped at $9,250 per year for undergraduate programmes. Regardless of the deal set in place, the immediate effects of the UK departure from the EU is likely to be minimal. If you identify as an international student outside of the EU by UK educational institutions, Brexit will have no impact on your plans to study or continue studying in the UK. Regardless of the UK's future intentions to either stagnate or increase tuition fees, Scotland has clarified they plan on treating EU students the same as domestic Scottish students for at least any course that begins autumn 2020. This means that EU students accepted into Scottish higher education institutions will continue to enjoy the free tuition fees that domestic Scottish students do, unless stated otherwise in the future. There has also been speculation that EU students may have to apply for a Tier 4 or short-term visa when contemplating or travelling to study in the UK at the university level. This is due to the nature of immigration being situated at the heart of the Brexit debate, and one that also may affect UK students studying abroad once the Erasmus Plus is discontinued.
Wanting to gather further insight into how a delayed Brexit is affecting the British public, we decided to collect interviews from the protest happening outside Parliament. As this was a predominantly Leave demonstration, bear in mind that the following sample of views cannot be wholly representative of the entire UK population.
Currently, how are you feeling about the delay that's been moved to the end of January?
Robbed. We shouldn't be out by 1700 today. You know, the British people has voted to come out, and why are we still in? Why are these people in there thinking they can keep us where we are, paying them exorbitant amounts of money?
I'm fed up, really fed up with it being delayed. I don't blame Boris Johnson for it, because it's been down to Remain Parliament that refused to enact the withdrawal agreement that he had arranged, and they refused to accept anything basically. So it's not I blame Boris Johnson, but I'm really, really angry about it. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
The majority voted to leave. We haven't left.
I'm all for people possibly having another vote once this vote has been carried out. Because at the end of the day, everyone's panicking over what could be on all this, and they're just going off polls, which are hard facts. They're just like done on analysis and stuff like that. So,
How do you feel that how Boris Johnson has dealt with the events that have unfolded?
to be fair, I did start follow Boris for a while, but I think there's something underlying going on. He's probably going to turn out to be a typical Tory, to be fair, and I don't think he's going to. I think he's got a lot of empty promises, to be fair. I hope not.
We do know now that we will leave before the 31st of January because we're going to get a majority Conservative party and they are committed to Brexit. So it'll be a Brexit of some sort. It won't be the Brexit that we want necessarily, but it'll be a Brexit of sort. So this general election is giving us some certainty.
We're here at the University of Sussex today to get official statements from the Vice-Chancellor, Adam Tickell. Adam Tickell has released 3 key statements regarding students and Brexit. Number 1 is that the university is here to support as much as they can. As a Vice-Chancellor, one of the most important parts of my job is to make sure that all our staff and all our students are aware that no matter the outcome of Brexit, we will be here. So any worries or concerns for university will be here for support. Number 2, the school will remain international in its uniqueness. Yet one thing can be for sure, whatever the outcome of the Brexit process, we will continue to be a truly international university because that is the heart of Sussex. Number 3, actual support can be found on the Brexit Hub. The university is a future for all its staff and all its students from the EU at the very top of our mind. We will continue to hold information sessions for staff and students on applying for the EU settlement scheme and providing opportunities for you to share any concerns directly with our HR team. Please remember you can find out the latest information and advice on the website for the Brexit Hub.
The university is also providing additional resources for students who are wanting to learn more about the current Brexit situation. This is through their website and also by public press releases. 1 in 3 students currently studying at the university identify as an EU, EEA or an international student. This is one of the largest international student demographics in the entire of the UK. Sussex has established extensive links with higher education providers from around the world, with 67 universities being situated in 17 EU-based territories. For EU students to continue to live and work within the UK, they must apply for the EU settlement scheme, where they'll receive settled or pre-settled statuses depending on how long they've been living in the UK. It should be applied for as soon as possible as to avoid jeopardising your right to live, work or study. For the deadline is December 31st, 2020, depending on if the UK leaves the EU without a current Brexit deal. To discover more about this topic and whether it concerns you, book an appointment at international.support@sussex.ac.uk or contact your relevant higher education provider. Maintaining their ethos of diversity, international outlook and inclusivity, Sussex are continuing to award their EU Excellence Scholarship into the year 2020. This provides £2,000 for students who have demonstrated high academic success. For more student news and media coverage like this in the future, subscribe to UniTV.